Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, and welcome to Believe in the Journey podcast, where I'm your host, Triveda Harris. You guys, I'm going to go ahead and give you this disclaimer. I have a horrible cough tonight, so just bear with me. I am okay. You might hear me barking just a little bit, but I'm okay. But tonight, I did have a guest. We had to, unfortunately, reschedule. They had an emergency that came up. And so tonight we're just going to be talking about grief and the unexpected triggers that come along with grief, and how it changes the version of yourself that you once knew. And so before we do anything, we definitely have to go to God in prayer. So we'll do that, and then we'll get started in this little conversation. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing me in front of your children tonight. Please let the words of my mouth fall upon the ears that need to hear. Grief is something that we all are going through right now, and especially with the holiday seasons, it makes it a little harder for us to, be in good spirits all the time. But as long as we're walking with you and we know that our loved ones are with you, and they are no longer in pain and suffering in any ways that they suffered while they were here on earth. So please continue to walk with us as we are on this grieving journey. It's a never-ending journey. It changes every day from moment to moment, and we learn to adjust. The pain doesn't get easier. We just learn to cope with it as you help us with this journey. So in your precious and holy name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. The thing that I wanted to talk about with grief is that grief has a funny way of showing up in our lives unexpectedly in moments where our day could have been going very, very well, or we didn't have anything to be sad about, anything to be upset about, anything to be frustrated about. And you could be sitting watching a funny TV show, and something in that TV show, a word, a song, or something will bring up the memory of a passed on loved one. And when that memory comes up, it brings us sometimes to tears. It brings us sometimes to laughter. It brings us to so many emotions. And the one thing that we must learn to do is to learn to embrace the feelings as they come. I have been one to say that I was never one to show big emotions or cry or do anything of that nature, because honestly, I didn't feel like I had time to deal with my emotions. Raising three small children, going through, just life, divorce, things of that nature. It was just one of those things that I never felt like I had time to really endure the feeling of sadness or anything like that, because I had so many things to think about. But grief is a thing that has many different layers, and it's not just the death of a loved one that we tend to grieve. It's the number one topic when it comes to thinking about grief is when death comes. But death isn't the only thing that requires grief. And one thing that I have come to understand about myself is, as far as my grieving is concerned, is when I had my stroke in 2009, and just a couple months ago, I realized that I never grieved for the old version of myself. And since I never grieved that, I didn't understand that that was part of what I needed to do, because the new version that emerged from that was from the old version before my stroke to the new version of who I've become and who I am continuously becoming has been a true challenge for myself, because before my stroke, I was very, very on go. I'll say it like that. Simply because anytime anybody would say something to me that I did not like, you were getting an earful right then and there. And it did not matter if I hurt your feelings. For the simple fact of, if you felt bold enough to say something that was disrespectful or hurtful to me, then I gave it right back to you. Now, the version of me after my stroke, I started looking at people for, maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe they just got some bad news and they didn't know how to deal with it, so they lashed out on other people. So I started learning to have more compassion and to not look at people um, in a negative viewpoint just because of the energy that they were giving to me. So the person before the stroke was just on ready, set, go at any given moment where you were being disrespectful, talking to me crazy, whatever. You got what you gave. And it was instant. And I didn't realize that until after I had my stroke, that I learned how to take a step back from that. But as I've gotten in this part of my journey with grief, of learning the old version of myself pre-stroke, this version post-stroke, it has been a true testament of strength. It's been a true testament of faith. It's been growth in so many different ways. Hey ladies, how y'all doing? Um, I did not know the strength that I had in myself um, with dealing with the health issues that I was dealing with. So I've learned to allow myself the space to grieve and allow myself to feel the emotions as they come, especially since my mom passed away in 23. And so since her passing, I've learned to allow myself to feel the emotions as they come and not run away from them, because it's easy to run. But one thing about grief is that it doesn't care about your timeline. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care what's on your schedule. It doesn't care anything about that. If it wants to creep up on you where you feel like there is nothing but release that is necessary, you're going to release those tears. You're going to release those screams. You're going to release all of that, because that is part of the grieving process. And a lot of people try to keep themselves busy. They want to keep, you know, busy all the time, not just the physical body, but the mind as well. So if you're constantly on the go, you don't have time to deal with the emotions. But grief doesn't care anything about that. It will wait for you to have a moment of stillness. And in that moment of stillness is where grief will come in and be like, hey, how you doing? I'm here. You may not have had time for me, but I have time for you. And a trigger for me has been when I'm outside with my granddaughter, because my mother loved to be outside. And so when I'm watching her and she's just enjoying being outside and not wanting to come in, it brings up memories of my mom and how she liked to be outside. And sometimes I have to fight back the tears because I don't want to upset my grandbaby for crying, and I can't really explain to her um, why I'm crying, because if I'm crying, of course, she's gonna assume that I'm sad or I'm hurting for some reason. And in many cases, I am, but sometimes it's not tears of sadness. It's just tears of the memories that we were able to create. And so give yourself permission to feel the emotions that you feel. If it's a song that comes on the radio and it brings you happiness, or it brings you to a time and a place with that person that made you laugh, that made you smile, that made you cry, or whatever, give into that emotion. Don't run away from it. Take a moment to acknowledge what it is that you're feeling, because you need to acknowledge the feeling that you're feeling so that you'll know how to process it. Most of the time, we don't know how to process those feelings because they're new and they're different to us. And when they're new and different to us, we tend to, try to push it away because we don't understand what we're feeling. But give yourself permission to feel whatever that emotion is when it comes to dealing with grief. Some of us have grieved relationships, and then this is another thing. We don't always grieve the death of someone. Somebody is still living and you no longer have contact with that person, but they're still living, they're still walking around. And you grieve the loss of that person in the sense of the friendship ended, the relationship with them ended, the one-on-one conversations, the little moments where you may have just had lunch or whatever. You grieve those moments as well, and they're still living, they're still walking around. You grieve the idea of that person that you once knew. And sometimes that's hard to do because of the high regard that you may have had for this particular person. But when you know that that person meant you no good, it's hard to let them go. And being in a relationship, being married, letting that relationship go. I've been in that space and having to come to terms with the ending of that and having to grieve that. And when I participated in the book my bestie wrote, her collaboration project, a wife's, what was it? Lord Jesus, I can't even think. After the Vows, a Wife's Story. Writing that helped me to release some of the feelings that I had in grieving that relationship, because I had been with him since I was 16 years old. And we have 3 children. Well, we shared 3 children together. And grieving the person that he was and the person that I had fallen in love with honestly no longer existed anymore. And having to walk away from something that I thought we would have forever wasn't forever. And so grieving that relationship, it took some time to get to that space, only because when we first split, we had some issues, and I didn't want to be in the same space with him, because if he opened his mouth, it was going to piss me off. And so I had to get to a space to where I had to forgive him, not for him, but for me. And when I started to do that, I began to have peace. And we can now be in the same room. We can now be in the same space. We can now have a conversation, because in the beginning, he was my friend. And we could laugh and joke and talk about anything. And so when our marriage ended, it was like our friendship ended as well.
Gentlemen,
But
May
as I
I
got
have
older,
your
as I got a little
attention,
bit more
please?
mature.
The
Now,
show
it didn't happen overnight.
starts
I
in
will say it took a couple
10,
years. However,
9,
when it got to the
8,
point
7,
where I
6,
could actually hold a
5,
conversation with
4,
him
3,
and
2,
not
1,
just want to cuss him out,
go.
it was a moment where I knew I had forgiven him, and it was easy to say that I loved him for who he was, and I loved him for the children he and I created together, and I loved him for the husband that he was in the beginning. Um, and it was it's a closed chapter. Um, did he say that's true? I had a grieving moment myself too. Yeah, it's one of those things where grief is going to come. It's a revolving door. It's a revolving experience. It's one of those things that, yes, you get to acceptance, and that's usually what they say, the final stage. However, I don't see that there is a final stage of grieving. It also is, when we grieve, we remember that there was love there. And that's what we are missing. And like, it's, as Regina um, King said, she said, you find out that grief is basically where love has no place to go, because that person is no longer here to be on the earthly side of receiving that love. And so it's love with no place to go when it comes to grief. And I've had to make some space for grieving. um it's an adjustment. It's a moment by moment thing, and people will say that time heals all wounds, but the passing of someone that you truly love, like a mom, a sister, a child, your dad, a spouse, those are true things that void is never filled the same. No one could ever make it feel like it once did. And you're right, it doesn't heal. Time does not heal all wounds. And there are good and bad days when it comes to grief. Um, Loving my mom for the final 6 months of her life, and this is something that has been on my mind heavy, about her final 6 months that I had the time with her. My mom never got an opportunity to feel unconditional love, I believe, until her final 6 months. Because as a little girl growing up, she was often made to feel unwanted. And if someone said that they wanted her, or put the illusion that they wanted her, it always came at a cost, and it was pain that was associated with it. So everything that came with it, when someone would tell her that they loved her or that they cared about her, just using those words, it came at a cost, and it was painful. And so, me, now that she's not here, I dwell on the fact of being able to give her a love that didn't cost her anything, that she was able to receive it. Now, I will say, in the beginning of that journey, she was not willing to allow me to love on her, because my mom was not big on hugs or kisses or anything of that nature. That just has never been our relationship. Now, she would cuss me out, of course, but there would always be a joke in there somewhere. And so that was our relationship. But to finally be able to love on my mom, to kiss on her, to hug on her, and her receive it, in a way to not push me away. It was a beautiful experience, and I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to do that with her. But it was hard knowing that she always felt like she had to do something to receive the love that she was always worthy of. And she didn't. She didn't have to do that. And before she left, we had a conversation. And I let her know that I know that she had been walking around, feeling guilty for not being the mother that she knew she was capable of being to myself and my siblings. But we understood the battles that she had to face, and that all was forgiven, and she could go in peace because we were not holding any ill will towards her, because some of the things that she went through were beyond her control. And so walking through that was healing for the both of us, in a way, because she was able to actually release. Yeah, it was definitely healing for both of us. And when you're able to have that moment, because not all of us get that moment to have that conversation with someone who means the world to us. Sometimes we think that we still have time, like we have time, but we're all on borrowed time. We're all temporary on this side. So love on the ones that love you, and let them know just how much you value them in whatever capacity and whatever space that you have them in your life, because tomorrow's not promised to any of us. The next moment isn't promised to any of us. We make plans every day for tomorrow, not understanding that may not be on God's call list in the morning. We may not be on his wake up list. Tonight could possibly be, the final moment for us. But I have made peace with knowing that my mom got to receive love from me. All the love and all the hugs and kisses. Now, do I still wish that I could love on her, hear her laugh, hear her, be silly? Yes, of course. I attended a awards show this past weekend, and I received an award. And in that moment, I wish my mom was there for that moment, only because she was there at the beginning of this journey with my podcast. And so she's not here now, but I know that she was there with me in spirit, because I could just feel her in the space and in the atmosphere. I'm trying not to cry, y'all. But her passing has changed the version of myself, in the sense of, like right now, I give myself permission to feel the emotions as they come. It's not always easy. And one thing that I have learned since she's passed is that if you don't bring me peace, or you're still in a space to where you love to deal with drama and foolishness or whatever, I have to stop. that draining energy away. I have to keep it away from me simply because that's not the space that I'm in. And so I just, it has changed me in the sense of I only want people around me who are pouring just as much into me as I am into them. I do not have time for one sided relationships anymore in any capacity. And it used to be that I would give chance after chance after chance because that's who my mom was. Regardless, she saw the good in people no matter how bad they treated her. She still saw the good in them. And I could not, for the life of me, figure that out. That's one thing I didn't get from her, because when I've reached my limit, I've reached my limit. And even so now, that is one thing that has changed me since she passed, is that I do not have the energy to forgive like that anymore. Um, to allow you to keep draining the life out of me, because the life that I have, I want to live it to the fullest, and I want to give God the glory for what he does for me in my life. And grief changes the way that you view relationships, and the way that you view people, the way that you view time. And if you don't value the time that God has given you, you're going to miss out on so many different things, and you're going to miss out on the good that God has for you because you're stuck on unforgivingness. Like you don't want to forgive those who caused you. And some things I can understand that are simply unforgivable. But if God is the one to give us grace, extend the grace, but you don't have to continue the relationship with them. So just learn to forgive and move on. You don't necessarily have to speak to those people again. You don't have to keep trying to make something work, but you do need to forgive them so that you can have peace within yourself, because that is really important for you to release, because you don't want to hold on to something for too long, because sometimes holding on to something, you cause yourself more damage and more pain. But learn to let go of what's no longer serving you. And when you can let go of what's no longer serving you, you'll understand what God means when he says to let go, because he has something better for you on the other side. And nothing that I have let go of has hurt me in the sense of he didn't replace it with something that was worse than before. Every time I let go, because God told me to let go, he's replaced it with something bigger and better. And I'm grateful for that. And I've learned that through this grief journey, through this grief process, and through the version of myself that my mom's passing has truly
Gentlemen,
shaped me in a way of
attention, please.
loving on people
Starts in
a whole lot more. I've always been a person to say thank you over and over again, because I've never wanted people to feel like I was taking them for granted in any capacity. I do that so much that it annoys the people that
one.
I am in contact with. I'll say thank you over and over again. I'll let them know how much I appreciate them. Like, I will tell you guys at the end of this, because I'm not going to be on here much longer, because y'all, I'm already coughing and doing all this other stuff. But just to be here in this moment with you guys, it means so much to me, because I did have another guest that was supposed to be on tonight, but unfortunately they had an unforeseeable emergency that came up, and so I hope everything is okay. So we'll keep them uplifted in prayer tonight, for whatever that emergency was. But I also feel like it happened for a reason, for me to be able to talk about this grief journey for myself, and someone else is along this journey as well, and they're learning how to forgive in ways and spaces, because our time grows nearer every year. Like next week, next Wednesday is it will be my 47th birthday, God willing that I see it. I've learned to embrace every moment that I have. Every day isn't always a good day, but it's not a bad day either. And so every night before I go to sleep, I make sure that I thank God for something, no matter how big or how small, because it could have been different. I could have awakened and not been able to move my body, and that has happened. I could have awakened and not been able to speak, because that has happened. So any small thing that I can find to have gratitude for and with, I make sure that I say thank you to God for allowing me the opportunity and the space to be thankful. If you're making plans for anything, and I hear people talk about a lot that they don't celebrate birthdays. Every day is your birthday. So start looking at it like that, because every day that your eyes open and you're able to move around, or you're able to do the things that God allows you to do, celebrate it. You may be in pain. You may have a headache. You may have hip pain. You may have back pain. You may have pain in your finger, your ankle, your toe, your elbow, whatever it is. Thank God for that, because you're able to feel. Um, Celebrate the big and the small. My son Nathan today told me that he's planning to do something for my birthday, because I don't celebrate myself. You guys, the award that I won for the I won Legendary of the Year award at the 5150 Foundation Award Show this past Sunday. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, but and I'm not saying but in the sense of I don't feel as if I deserve the award. It was surprising and shocking to me that I won that, because I'm just beginning this journey, and for someone to see the things that I have been working on is just truly amazing to me. But I did not celebrate the win. I came home, and my kids are really excited. I'm really excited, but that's as far as it went. Um, because I don't really know how to celebrate myself, and it's a process for me. So I'm gonna need some pointers on how to celebrate, because I honestly do not know how. And as crazy as that may sound, like I will celebrate things for everyone else, but when it comes to me, I don't know how to do that. I struggle very, very hard with celebrating myself and any accomplishments that I have. And I'm slowly learning, but I haven't got there yet. So thank you. Um, I don't, yeah, girl, we gonna be finding this out together, because I really don't know how to celebrate. I don't, you know. I'm grateful for every task, and I think it falls back to as a little girl growing up, um, not celebrating things at all. Like birthday celebrations, the old tradition was, your birthday comes, they throw a flower in your face and give you a couple of gifts, but there was no birthday parties or anything like that. And then any like report cards, even if the grades were good, there was no, celebration for that. And so any success, it was just like, well, I was always told that I wasn't going to do anything. And so anytime I would do it, it was like, okay, yeah, I proved you wrong. I could do it. And so I would just move on to the next thing I was told I couldn't do. So I just don't know how to stop and live in the moment of the accomplishment and celebrate it. When I graduated college, I got the degree, went to Waffle House, came home, went to bed. That was my celebration. I I didn't do any of that stuff, so I really struggle with celebrating. I struggle with buying myself things because I think of what someone else is gonna need first. Um, I don't know. When I figure it out, y'all, we'll figure this thing out together. Um, but grief is never ending. Love on those that love you. If you're holding on to a grudge with someone because they said or did something to you, no matter how hard it was for you to experience it, you have become a better person because you didn't allow that to define you. And so, since you didn't allow it to define you, it doesn't control you. So, if it doesn't control you, then you have the power to forgive so that you can move on and show someone else that yes, you may have been broken, but you are still blessed. And so, forgive, grieve them, even though they are still living. Give yourself permission to let them go. The weight that you've been carrying because of someone else's hurt that they may have caused you is no longer yours to carry. Give it back to them. Let them carry their own burdens. Let them carry their own hurts, their own pains. They're not for you to carry anymore. You've carried it long enough, and it's time for you to let that go so that you can actually be lighter and actually walk in your purpose and grieve them in the sense of you love them and it's time to let them go. Give yourself permission to love the new version of yourself. The old version was good for what was necessary in the time that you were that particular version of yourself. But love yourself enough to know that you are enough. You always have been enough and you always will be enough. Don't let grief keep you confined to depression. Love the moments that you shared, the memories that you created. Listen to those a little bit more than the sad times because I could dwell on the sadness of the relationship with my mom, but I tend to force myself out of the sad moments because we had more happy times that I remember because yeah, of course, she said some hurtful things, but I also realized that they were coming from a hurtful place. And she was once a child too. And she was once a little girl, a teenager, before she became a mom. And she never got to grieve those versions of herself. She never got to grieve the innocence of the little girl she once was. And so, learning to see her beyond the title of her being my mom allowed me to look past the things that she said out of hurt. And I've had to come to understand that she loved me the best way that she knew how because the way that she had received love was through pain. So she only knew how to give it in that way. But watching her with my children let me know that the love that she gave to them was the love that she had always wanted to receive. And she was always the mother that I needed. And I gave my children the mother that I wanted. And so I love the fact that I was able to recognize that. Now, did I recognize it before she passed? No. But during that time, I was so busy on focusing, being there for her in that moment, in her moments of transition, that I focused on that, and I prayed and asked God to allow all of the lessons that my mom was teaching me during that transition time to let me recall the lessons that she was teaching so that I would be able to feel what she was teaching after she was gone, because I had gotten so used to my mom showing up every 3 months. And so after my mom had been gone for 3 months, it was a thing where I was like, oh, well, she's not. I was in my denial stage. I'll say that. It's 3 months. She'll be back. But then I had to realize there's no coming back. It was her final goodbye. And that was a hard thing to handle. But I've gotten better. It ain't always an easy thing, but it's a beautiful process. But I'm not gonna keep you guys any longer. Y'all have seen me cry. Y'all have heard me bark like a dog with this cough that I got. Um, but I thank you guys for first tuning in, listening to me tonight. I will be back on, I think it is November. Hold on, I ain't gonna tell you no lie. Let me just go and look and tell you when I'll be back. It's gonna be a Sunday, of course. November the 9th, and I will be with Denicia Harper. We're going to continue our conversation about loving yourself, the authentic version of yourself. But God, we thank you for being with us tonight, giving us all that we needed to know that we are not alone on our grieving journey, and that everything that we are going through, you provide the grace and the protection and the coverage and the love that we need, even on days when we don't even understand the reason why. But everything that happens, it is connected to our greater purpose, because even the pain that we've gone through, even the loss of the loved ones that we have lost along the way, are connected to the greater good of the purpose in which we have been created. So allow us to continue to walk by faith and not by sight, and with the strength that you give us to endure each and every moment, because everything that we go through is a puzzle piece that's connected to the greater version of ourselves. So I thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and I will see you guys back on Sunday, November 9th. And as always, remember to stay out of God's business. The only thing He needs you to do is be obedient to what He's called you to do. Good night, you guys. I love you.
7, 6, 5.